Good day there everyone, and welcome to my 2020 Christmas special. My name is Cliff and I'm a gem cutter from Australia. On behalf of myself and my family and of course Jaws, we would all like to extend a very Merry Christmas to all our subscribers and followers, and also wish everyone a very safe new year in 2021. So to get things started, I thought for this year's Christmas Spectacular video I would backpedal a bit and have a look at what I did last year, and then we'll go forward from there. For obvious reasons, 2020 has been a totally different year than most other years. For many of us, including myself, we've all had to adapt, change the way we live, change our spending habits, change our jobs. Some of us unfortunately have lost our jobs. We've lost loved ones, and all sorts of things have been happening in and out of lockdowns. But rather than concentrate on the negatives, I'm going to focus on the positives of my year. So in the previous scenes you saw the gem that won last year's Victorian Faceters Group freeform competition, and here is the trophy, and here is the gold medal that I won. So because this was a perpetual trophy, I decided to try again and have another shot at winning the contest again, and I started off by cutting another freeform, and this was it, and it was in fused quartz, and I actually thought it was a really good gem. I thought the outcome was quite good. So even though I thought this was quite a good cut and was of a high standard, and I loved the colour, there's no disputing how nice the colour looks, being a man-made material with fused quartz, I tended to think it was a little bit on the chippy side, so they had the odd little chip, but they were so tiny you'd barely see them. But I had heard that previous year's winners were out to redeem the trophy again, and I thought maybe this gem was not quite up to scratch. So because these competitors were pretty tough, I decided to get back into training and get back into shape. There was no doubt that the previous year's winners of the Perpetual Trophy Award were pretty heavy hitters, and I really needed to lift my game. So I decided to restart the project again and start faceting in a natural smoky quartz. I really do not think that man-made fused quartz is good enough for a competition. I really do think the natural quartz is a lot more stable and it doesn't chip as easily. I should also add that if you win this perpetual freeform competition, then the following year when you recut the gem or have a go at the competition again, it needs to be a totally different design. So I had to redesign this gem to be different than the previous year, so it had one less side and different facets on the pavilion. So this year I really decided to change up some of the brilliant facets. I didn't think the indexes in the previous year were good enough, and the outline that it was creating as it hit the barrier facets, I thought this year looked a lot better. So here we have a closer look of this design on computer generated software, and I thought less was more, and I do think the overall gem was a lot sharper looking, particularly on the pavilion. One of the criteria in this particular competition being a freeform competition where you're kind of left to your own devices in terms of the type of shape or design you want to create is artistry, and you can actually lose a lot of points on that criteria alone. So I'm getting closer to finishing off the pavilion, and the pavilion is a lot more technical than the crown because there are a lot of meat points, and when it comes to competition faceting you've got to set up all the meat points perfectly. So I've completed the transfer and I'm ready to start faceting the crown, and I've actually written down the index numbers because the index numbers on the crown are totally different than on the pavilion. So to finish off this gem is just a case of cutting in the steps and then completing the table and obviously the final polish on that, and then of course we have the final reveal where you get to see what the gem looks like, and then I'll show you what type of results I received in the Perpetual Trophy Award. So here we have the results, and for the second year in a row I won the gold medal, and actually this year the scores were a little bit higher than the previous year, so fortunately I was able to land the knockout punch. So putting all jokes aside, it was really nice to win the open freeform competition 2 years in a row, but things don't always go as well as planned when it comes to competition cutting, and you may remember this video. I decided once again to cut another competition gem and measure it as one would, and yep, guess what? I tore it off the dopstick. So by this stage within the competition I was getting really fed up with competition gem cutting, as I had already recut the freeform and then I was about to cut this particular gem and this happened. However, I did re-dop this gem and the results were another gold medal, and this was in the intermediate section and a score of 96.5 out of 100, and that's what the front of the medal looks like. I'm using the one from the freeform comp. So here we have the winning gem for the Emerald Brilliant competition, and I'm actually using spinel for this competition, and I thought the gem was well cut, but personally I thought the freeform gem was the better gem. I thought there were less errors, but obviously the score doesn't show that type of result. This scored higher. So the medal run didn't stop there, because earlier on in the year I won one of the novice sections in the national competition, and this particular gem scored exceedingly high. I actually lost points on visual effect, and then I won another competition in a state competition, Gemstone for New South Wales, where I submitted a standard round brilliant and got 94.19 out of 100. In terms of gem cutting, the competitions and the medals were not the highlight of my gem cutting year, and in 2021 I really doubt that I'll be faceting as many gems for competitions, because it's really time consuming and quite demanding. It is a higher level of gem cutting than just cutting a gem for yourself. So for 2021 I doubt that I'll be faceting too many competition gems, and I may not even want to have another go at the freeform comp. I'll just wait and see. To me this was a real highlight of my year, cutting the Cleopatra's Eye. Even some of the best faceters would struggle to cut this particular gem, and I found just to cut this gem was such an accomplishment. For those of us who love cutting gems, we all have heard about Bob Keller, who designed this gem, and you don't often see this gem on the internet. When you do a Google search, there are not many of them out there, and mine is one of them, of course, but quite often this design hasn't been executed the way it should be. There's a few shortcuts when it comes to getting the eyeball right. So this was a real highlight of my year, trying to get this particular gem cut. And by cutting this gem I had learnt a lot about how to cut eye designs. And another highlight of the year was actually faceting Tutankhamun's eye, which was my design, and I'll show that to you right now. Personally, out of all the designs that I came up with in 2020, I thought that this was the best of all the designs. It just was a spectacular gem, technically challenging, that was for sure, but it was equally as challenging as the Cleopatra's Eye, and I learnt a lot about myself as a faceter. One of the things I've learnt as a gem cutter when you've cut gems like Bob Keller's Cleopatra Eye and you start cutting designs like this is that you are totally relying on your own capabilities, not so much on the capabilities of your faceting machine and how accurate it is, because my machine doesn't even have a vernier where I can set it to 1/10 of a degree, so I'm totally reliant on my own skills, and so that's based on sight and pressure and feel. And I believe when you're learning to facet and you're cutting at a high level, that's what you need, I think, to be a really good all-round gem cutter. That's one of the things I want to stress for those people who are learning to facet, and that probably includes a lot of people who've been faceting for a while. Try to be intuitive with your gem cutting. Rely on your capabilities, rely on your feel and your touch and your sight, rather than relying on the machine and assuming that you have the world's most accurate machine to do the gem cutting for you, because the reality is the machine is not going to cut these really difficult complex gems to the high degree that the designs require. Another big highlight during the year of 2020 was that my subscribers and viewers got to choose a design of their choice rather than me deciding what design I should do for each video. And it was a choice between this one, the Princess Trilliant, the Illusion design, and the rocket ship, and they were all created by a fellow Aussie gem cutter and gem designer called Tony Collins, and they decided to choose the Princess Trilliant. I was really surprised that the viewer's choice was the Princess Trilliant. I thought the Illusion design would have won hands down, and personally I would have preferred to have cut the Illusion design because I thought it was such an interesting design. But the Illusion came a close second, and the Princess Trilliant was the viewer's choice. And the reason why I was surprised that people chose this is because, to me, this is a very conservative design, and Trilliants have been around for a long time, where the Illusion, in my opinion, that design was right out there. It was a more trendy design, and I thought people would be more into more unusual designs, but it proved that the average person out there are very conservative when it comes to gem designs. I think the viewer's choice, what it's made me realize is that as a gem cutter and as a gem designer, and I think that goes for many gem designers and cutters out there, what we think is really trendy and out there and different is not what the general public really want to see, and probably isn't the type of gem most people would want to buy. And I do think in 2020 and probably 2019, I think some of the designs are getting and becoming more outrageous as each month goes by. When I look at what I see on certain websites, I think, gee, this is just incredible what they've done, but is it something people would really want to buy or invest in? One of the things I've also noticed that 2020 has been a huge year for many gem cutters and designers to indulge in frosting of gems. So 2020 has been a big year for a lot of gem cutters and designers to create frosted gems, and I thought, well, I didn't want to leave myself out of this process, and I thought I would design my own frosted gem called the Swallow. And I did like the look of it, and I enjoyed the whole process of learning how to design a frosted gem. But I do feel that when it comes to frosted gems, particularly in the last 18 months, there has been just too much overkill. It seems like too many people are doing this, and after a while it becomes a little bit boring just to see frosted gem after frosted gem. I think it's nice in moderation, but I won't be spending a lot of my time cutting gems that are frosted. Another huge highlight of 2020 was that people from overseas sent me gems to facet. For example, this lovely piece of fire opal that Tam sent to me. And you only dream of cutting such gems if you're an Australian faceter, because you just can't get these in Australia. So I got to learn a lot about cutting fire opal, and also gems like Yag that a gentleman from overseas sent me called Urag. He wanted me to facet this crucifix for him, and once again I learned how to cut a gem that I've never had the opportunity to cut. So thank you to all these wonderful people. Another highlight of 2020 evolved out of a low point earlier on this year. Just like many people, I was forced into redundancy by the government, and it's just part of the process of living through a pandemic. And like many people, we had to go into lockdown. And in the state of Victoria, where I lived in, there's two separate lockdowns, one for Melbourne, metropolitan Victoria, and the other for regional Victoria. and fortunately I live in regional Victoria, which meant that I could go out and about wherever I wanted to within the regional parts of Victoria, which meant it gave me a lot of time to go out with my friend Merv, and we did plenty of prospecting. So we went all over Victoria to different creeks and riverbeds prospecting, and it was just a lot of fun, and we did find quite a few gems. So at the moment I'm pretty excited for both Merv and myself, because Merv has just bought a second-hand faceting machine, which is a V2 Ultratech, and I've had the opportunity to teach Merv for the last month on a Gem Master at the Faceting Club, but now that he's bought this machine, I'm equally excited to be able to teach him on that machine. Now, I've never used a Ultratech, so it's going to be a bit of a learning curve, so I'm looking forward to that, and that's going to be another highlight. So while I've been home so much, I've decided to really get stuck into doing landscaping. 3 years ago we had a barren paddock. My wife decided to buy all these rocks that you see just in the footage at the moment. I became the landscaper, and while I've had this time, I think we've just decided to go ahead and keep doing a little bit more, because it's been something that I've been meaning to do for years. When you've got nearly 2 acres of land, it's a lot of land that you've got to sort of tend to. So here we have Jaws with me, and I've got to tell you, Jaws has been naughty this year. Anyway, I'm walking down the driveway, and all this I've done myself with just a wheelbarrow, shovel, a pick, just very basic tools. Really didn't have the money to get a landscaper, and for those of you who've ever paid for a landscaper in Australia, you don't get much done under $15,000, and that's only for a small front yard. So anyway, this is what I've been doing. In the last 3 weeks, I've created this snake. Now, a lot of people have seen this footage where they see a gemstone on a red ironstone rock. Well, this ironstone rock is all over the area I live, and I pick up all these rocks for nothing. All the landscaping material, like the crushed granite, is all local from a quarry down the road, and all these big rocks are local. And I've moved every one of those myself with a crowbar. Everything I've done has been just by sheer determination and a lot of hard work. So I've got a temporary rest station which is parked underneath this tree, so I can sit in the shade and have a cold drink of water with electrolytes. So having completed the snake from local rock that I found around the district, I moved on to completing this section, and this took a bit over a week. And I'm just using basically what I still had around on my block of land. My wife bought all these huge boulders, as you can see here. That took about half an hour or more to move that with my son. We had to crowbar that across. But I've had to be inventive by just using what I had around, like the crushed granite. And the only thing I've had to buy was the mulch. And that's pretty cheap, and that comes locally too. I've done all the landscaping apart from this. This is what my wife has done, the only thing. What do you reckon of that? So this is where the trail ends, and I'm going to continue it on down through here where it's all empty on this section of the block, and see how I go. Get out of there. Stop digging at her. Over here on this side we have a vacant paddock which is part of our property, and I don't do anything with that. We just leave it empty, and I should put a goat on it, I guess, to keep the weeds at bay during winter. But when we bought this property, it was the ugliest property I've ever seen. This paddock was so ugly you couldn't even imagine how bad it was, and we spent a good year just clearing it up and getting rid of a whopping big ditch out the front. It was horrible. At the time, no one wanted to buy this property because it just looked a mess, but I saw a lot of potential in it, and we bought it really cheap, so I'm glad we did. So my gem and faceting goals for 2021 are basically going out on more field trips. That's something I definitely want to do in 2021. Get out into nature. I love our Australian bushland. I love the serenity, the quietness of it all, and go out and have a good time. This was a really fantastic day out I had with Merv, and I want to have a lot more of these days out, you know, just sitting near a little creek or a little stream digging for gems, and hopefully find some really nice gems that I can facet. So a few other goals that I would like to achieve in 2021 is, obviously, I want to learn more about the art form of faceting. I want to become a better faceter than I am now, and also I want to facet some gems that I've never tried before, some different varieties that are out there that would really be a challenge to facet. I haven't faceted kunzite before. I've got some green kunzite which is hiddenite, and I might have a go at that, but I really like to cut my teeth on things that I haven't tried before. So I'm looking forward to some new challenges in 2021. Also, I would like to get a other faceting machine as a backup, and I think it might be a gem master of some type. So I'm also looking forward to trying out the V2 Ultratech that Merv's bought, and clearly the Ultratech is one of the USA's premier machine, but as an Aussie faceter who only gets to try out Australian machines, this is something I'm really looking forward to trying out. So that's another goal for 2021. So of course the most important goals for each and every one of us is to remain healthy and happy, and have those people around us that we love and care about also be healthy and happy and content. Life wouldn't be much at all if we didn't have any of those things going for us. So on that note, I'd like to wish all my subscribers and all my viewers, and particularly all my patrons, those people who help support me at that crucial time around April, May this year, I really thank you from the bottom of my heart. I wish everyone who watches my channel a very Merry Christmas, and obviously a very safe and healthy New Year. So until next time, hope to see you in the new year with some more videos. Take care everyone. It's bye for now. Hey, cut it out. Get off there. Come over here. Damn. Damn dog, every time you take it out, it's got to do a crap somewhere. Usually on someone else's nature strip. Hey, come over here. What do you think of that? Stupid, silly dog. You don't like the wind, do you? Hey, stop that.